You are living inside a burning house. This is not a metaphor. This is not a poetic exaggeration designed to frighten you into a pew or a cushion. This is the most precise, forensic description of your current biological and existential situation. You have been living in this house since the moment you drew your first jagged breath of hospital air. Most of the time, the smoke is so thin, so chemically transparent, that you do not smell it. It blends perfectly with the scent of your morning coffee, the leather of your car seats, the perfume of your lover. The heat is so subtle, so gradual, that you mistake it for the natural warmth of the sun or the comfort of a heavy blanket. But make no mistake, the structural beams of your reality are smoldering. The molecular bonds holding the roof together are turning to ash. The floorboards beneath your feet are losing their integrity, fiber by fiber, second by second. And what are you doing? You are busy arranging the furniture. You are obsessing over the angle of the sofa. You are arguing with the other tenants about who gets to sit in the chair with the best view of the garden. You are spending your limited currency painting the walls a shade of beige that you think defines your identity. You are polishing the silverware while the drawer it sits in is catching fire. But the fire does not care about your furniture. It does not care about your arguments, your status, your bank account, or your carefully curated reputation. The fire does not hate you, and it certainly does not love you. The fire is simply the fundamental nature of the house itself. To be built is to burn, to arise is to pass away. We must begin this inquiry with a paradox that creates a microscopic fracture in the comfortable architecture of the mind. You already know that everything ends. This is not news. This is not a sudden revelation delivered from a mountaintop. It is the background hum of your entire existence, a low frequency vibration that has been rattling your bones since childhood. You have carried this heavy, silent knowledge since the first time you watched a helium balloon slip from your sticky fingers. You watched it rise, a sphere of bright red joy, shrinking against the indifferent blue canvas of the sky until it was nothing but a speck. And then, nothing. Gone. You learned it when you watched the plastic of your favorite toy turn brittle in the sun, whitening, cracking, and finally snapping. You have watched the seasons bleed into one another. A slow motion hemorrhage of time, the violent green of summer turning to the melancholic gold of autumn. The gold rotting into brown sludge, the rot feeding the soil in a cycle that cares nothing for the individual leaf. You have stood at gravesides. You have watched the casket, a geometrically perfect box of mahogany and brass, lower into the ragged, chaotic geometry of the earth. You have heard the sound of dirt hitting the lid, a thud that echoes not just in the air, but in the deepest chambers of your nervous system. You have felt the cold, heavy vibration of silence that follows the final breath of a loved one, a silence so thick it feels like it has weight. A silence that sucks the air out of the room. Or perhaps you have simply looked in the mirror under the harsh light of a bathroom vanity. You have traced the deepening topographic map of lines around your eyes. You have noticed the subtle sagging of skin that was once tight as a drum, the gravity of the planet slowly winning the war against your collagen. You have seen the gray hairs multiplying like an invading army, conquering the territory of your youth. Your body is not a solid object, It is a slow motion explosion. Right now, as these syllables enter your ears and are translated into electrical signals in your brain, millions of cells within you are undergoing apoptosis, programmed cell death. You are a river of dying cells pretending to be a solid statue. The moment you are in right now, this precise configuration of light, sound, breath, thought, and chemistry will never, in the entire future history of the cosmos, occur again. It is already gone. It is ash. We treat this information like a terms of service agreement on a website. We know it's there. We scroll past it rapidly. We click I agree without reading, just so we get to the good part of the app. We try to hack the simulation to ignore the code it is written in. But every once in a while, the truth breaks through the screen. A sudden loss that feels like a physical blow to the chest, a knocking the wind out of your spirit. A diagnosis from a doctor that rewrites your entire future in a single clinical sentence. A quiet moment at 3:03 a.m. when the distractions of the world fall silent, the notifications stop pinging, and the sheer, terrifying fragility of your life lands on you with the crushing weight of a collapsing mountain. In that moment, the tectonic plates of your psychology shift. A question rises up from the marrow of your bones, bypassing the polite sectors of your intellect. It is not a philosophical question. It is a scream disguised as a whisper if everything ends. If the house is burning, what actually matters? This is not pessimism. This is not dark entertainment for a rainy afternoon. This is the only honest question a human being can ask. It is the needle of the compass seeking true north in a magnetic storm. And here is what is fascinating about the history of human consciousness. The Buddha started exactly here. He did not start with gods. He did not start with rituals, incense, or prayers. He started with the terror of the burning house. He looked at aging, sickness, and death, the inevitable trinity of decay, and he refused to look away. He refused the seduction of distraction. He refused to just arrange the furniture. He needed to know, with the precision of a quantum physicist and the desperation of a drowning man, if there was anything in this universe that does not fall apart. Is there a diamond that cannot be scratched? Is there a ground that does not crumble? He found something. And that discovery is what we are going to explore. We are not looking for answers to memorize for a theology test. We are looking for a weapon to cut through the illusion that is suffocating us. We are taking an honest, unflinching look at what actually matters, and whether the answer depends on how deeply you are willing to see. Let us descend into the architecture of impermanence, the ground beneath everything. Let us look at something so obvious it has become invisible to you, like the air in your lungs. Everything changes. This is the fundamental frequency of the cosmos. From the subatomic particles vibrating in and out of existence billions of times a second, quantum foam bubbling in the void, to the super-massive black holes evaporating over eons. Movement is the only constant. Stasis is a myth. You have witnessed this law your entire life. You watched your grandparents grow old, their skin becoming like translucent parchment, their memories fading like old Polaroid photographs left in the sun. You have seen relationships that felt eternal, that felt carved into the bedrock of destiny, dissolve into silence, awkward glances, and block numbers. You have seen empires of career and status rise and fall like tides. The coffee in your hand is exchanging heat with the air, moving towards equilibrium. The neuron firing in your brain to process this sentence is exhausting its chemical potential, never to fire in exactly the same way again. Nothing, literally nothing, stays the same. In the ancient language of Pali, the vibration of this truth is encoded in the word Anicca. It is usually translated as impermanence, but that word is too sterile. It sounds like a concept you debate in a university classroom while wearing a tweed jacket. Anicca is not a concept. It is the roar of the waterfall. It is the friction of the wind against the stone. It is the undeniable, concrete texture of existence. The Buddhists stripped it down to a formula of terrifying, simplicicet, fabsara, anicca. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. We must understand the word conditioned. It means anything that is built, anything that is assembled, anything that relies on scaffolding. A chair is conditioned by wood, nails, glue, and the carpenter's labor. A thought is conditioned by memory, language, glucose, and emotion. A human body is conditioned by food, water, oxygen, and genetics. The law of the universe is absolute. Everything that has causes, everything that came together from various conditions, must eventually fall apart when those conditions change. There are no exceptions. There are no VIP passes to escape this law. No amount of money, no amount of kale, no amount of prayer can bribe the laws of thermodynamics. This is not Buddhist doctrine. This is physics. This is entropy. Look closely at anything your hand, your anger, love, your anxiety, even this present moment of awareness, and you will see it arising, shimmering for a brief instant like a mirage, and passing away. It is a flicker, a strobe light. Now, the first time this truth really lands not just as an intellectual idea, but as a felt resonance in the nervous system, the response is often dread. A cold, hollow pit opens in the stomach. The mind recoils in horror. If nothing lasts, then what is the point? Why build anything if the tide will wash it away? Why love anyone if the separation is guaranteed? Why try at all? This is a natural response. It is the ego realizing its own mortality. It is the shadow of nihilism creeping in the door. And it is worth sitting with this dread for a moment. Do not rush to cover it up with positive affirmations. Let it burn. Because if we rush past the dread, we miss the secret hidden inside the fire. Ask yourself this question and push your imagination to its absolute limit. What would reality actually be like if nothing ever changed? Think about it. Visualize a universe of total stasis. If nothing changed, your pain would never end. That mistake you made 10 years ago, you would be frozen in that moment of shame forever, a statue of regret, paralyzed in amber. That grief you are carrying. There would be no possibility of healing, no softening of the sharp edges, no integration. The difficult situation you are trapped in. No chance of resolution, no exit. You would be locked in whatever state you are in right now for eternity. A hell of eternal preservation. Impermanence is not the enemy. Impermanence is the condition of all possibility. It is the oxygen of existence. It is the reason music can exist, because music is essentially the change of frequency over time. A single note held forever is not music. It is a tone of torture. Melody requires the death of the previous note to give birth to the next. It is the reason stories can be told, because stories are transformation. Without change, there is no narrative, only a still image. It is the reason love can deepen, because love grows through shared experiences, through weathering the storms of change together, through the dynamic interplay of two evolving souls. The suffering we feel does not come from the change itself. The seasons do not suffer when they change. The clouds do not scream when they dissolve into rain. The suffering comes from our resistance. It comes from the friction between reality as it is and the mind's demand for reality to be solid. We are trying to nail a wave to the sand. This brings us to a distinction that is subtle, yet sharp enough to cut the hair off a fly. Buddhism speaks of two ways of looking at reality, two eyes, two depths. The first is called Samyuti, Sakka conventional truth. This is the level at which we live our daily lives. This is the interface. At this level, your name matters. It distinguishes you from your neighbor. Your social security number matters. Your family matters. Your work matters. The red traffic light matters. These things are real in the sense that they function. They have practical significance for how you navigate the simulation of society. If you ignore the bus rushing towards you because it is just empty phenomena, you will be hit by a very conventional, very heavy bus. The second is called Paramatha, Sakka, ultimate truth. This is what you see when you look deeper, beneath the surface texture of things. This is the view through the microscope of high-resolution awareness. At this level, everything we call self or mine, ein, or soul is revealed to be a process, a verb, not a noun. It is a constantly changing flow of physical sensations, flashing perceptions, mental formations, and moments of consciousness. There is no fixed entity at the center. There is no little homunculus sitting in your brain watching the show. There is just the show, just movement, just arising and passing away. Now, here is the crucial calibration. These two truths do not contradict each other. They are not enemies. They are not true and false. They are different focal lengths, like how you can look at the ocean and see waves individual, distinct, crashing, frothing, each with its own character. That is conventional truth. Or you can look deeper and see that it is all water, all one interconnected movement, inseparable wetness. That is ultimate truth. Both perspectives are valid. They just reveal different things. And the answer to what matters depends entirely on which depth you are looking from. At the level of everyday life, certain things genuinely matter. But there may also be something that matters at a deeper level, something we often overlook because we are too busy surfing the waves to notice the water. So let us go there. Let us dissect what matters at each level, starting with the life you are already living. There is a common misunderstanding about Buddhism that acts like a spiritual virus. People sometimes think that Buddhist teaching is fundamentally world-denying. They think the goal is to become a spiritual zombie, that the whole point is to renounce everything, detach from everyone, escape to a cold stone monastery, and leave ordinary life behind. That relationships, work, ambition, family, all of it is just a dirty illusion to be transcended. This is a serious misreading. It is a caricature. If you look at the Taṇhā of the Buddha actually taught, you will find something quite different. The Buddha spent an enormous amount of time teaching laypeople, householders, merchants, farmers, kings, servants, generals, courtesans, people with families, debts, jobs, responsibilities, people who were not going to shave their heads and wear robes. And he didn't tell them, None of this matters. Just wait for your next life. He didn't say, abandon your children and stare at a wall. He told them here is how to live well. Here is how to treat your parents with honor. Here is how to be a spouse of integrity. Here is how to raise children who are strong and wise. Here is how to be a trustworthy friend. Here is how to work honestly and build wealth without corruption. There is a teaching called the Sīgalavada Sutta, sometimes referred to as the layperson's code of discipline. In this text, the Buddha gives detailed, practical, almost logistical guidance on how to navigate the complex web of human relationships. It is remarkably grounded. It is earthy. He talks about the duties between parents and children, between spouses, between friends, between teachers and students, between employers and employees. He treats these relationships as sacred geometry. He treats them as worthy of extreme care and attention. At the level of everyday life, things matter. Your kindness matters. It alters the chemistry of the room. Your honesty matters. It builds the foundation of reality around you. How you treat people matters. And this isn't just some nice idea floating in the abstract clouds of morality. It has real, mechanical consequences. The Buddha talked about karma, often spelled karma in English. This word has been hijacked by pop culture to mean cosmic revenge or fate. Let us strip the superstition away. Karma literally means action. The principle is physics. For every action, there is a consequence. How you act shapes the structure of your mind. How you speak shapes the quality of your relationships. How you earn your living shapes the world you inhabit. If you earn your living through deception, you live in a world of paranoia, constantly looking over your shoulder. If you earn your living through service, you live in a world of connection. Generosity, kindness, honesty, compassion, these aren't just good boy points for a heavenly scorecard. They are technologies for well-being. They lead to tangible outcomes, trust, connection, peace of mind, a life you can look back on without the burning acid of regret. And these consequences don't just play out in the immediate moment. According to the Buddha's teaching, they ripple forward into the rest of your life, and even beyond this lifetime, vibrating through the causal web of the universe. Actions have weight. They have gravity. They matter. So yes, at this level, there is much that is real and worth caring for. Your relationships are the garden you tend. Your integrity is the shield you carry. Your contribution is the legacy you leave. The Buddha never dismissed any of this. And yet, and here is the sharp turn, even the best life, lived with the utmost care, surrounded by deep love, filled with meaningful work, remains subject to the law of the burning house. You can do everything right and still lose what you cherish. You can eat organic, meditate daily, and exercise and still get cancer. You can be the perfect spouse, and your partner may still leave. You can build a fortune, and the market can erase it in an afternoon. Not because the universe is unfair, not because you are being punished, but because that is simply how conditioned things work. What comes together must come apart. What arises must pass away. The vase will break. The flower will wilt. The sun will set. This is not meant to be depressing. It is meant to be the wake-up call that snaps you out of the dream. It opens a question that is worth asking with every ounce of your courage. Is there something that cannot be taken away? Is there a peace that does not depend on the weather? Is there a fortress that time cannot crumble? The Buddha said yes. But to see it, we have to be willing to look deeper than the surface. We have to look into the machinery of the mind itself. The strategy of arrangement. We try to arrange conditions so that we can finally be happy. We play Tetris with our lives. We need the right relationship, the right job, the right amount of money in the bank, the right health, the right political climate. We think, once I get all these pieces in place, then I will exhale. Then I will be safe. And when we get them, we feel good at least for a while. The dopamine hits. But then, the pieces shift. The car gets a scratch. The partner gets annoying. The job gets boring. And we suffer. This is understandable. This is what most self-help teaches. Minimize pain, maximize pleasure, optimize your circumstances. Build a better cage. Decorate the burning house. But the Buddha pointed to something more radical. He wasn't just offering tips for a better life. He was asking a deeper question: is there a happiness that doesn't depend on conditions at all? Is there a happiness that is unconditional? His teaching can be summarized in one line, a line he repeated throughout his life like a drumbeat, both formerly and now. I teach only suffering and the cessation of suffering. Notice what he did not say. He did not say, I teach happiness strategies. He did not say, I teach positive thinking. He taught the complete uprooting of the cause of dissatisfaction. That is a significant claim. It is an audacious engineering goal for the human spirit. And it raises an obvious question: what is the cause? What is the root of all this anxiety? The Buddhist answer was precise. It is not that life is painful, though sometimes it is. It is not that change is bad, change is just change. The root is Taṇhā, usually translated as craving or thirst. But thirst is too poetic. Think of it as a glitch in the software. It is that quality in the mind that is always leaning forward, always reaching for the next moment, always wanting this moment to be different than it is. It is the vibration of not enough. It is the grasping at what is pleasant, trying to strangle it so it won't leave. It is the pushing away of what is unpleasant, fighting reality with clenched fists. And it is the vague, humming dissatisfaction even when things are neutral. And here is the key insight, the diamond that cuts the glass, that thirst doesn't come from the objects we desire. It doesn't come from the car or the lover or the money. It comes from within. It is a pattern in the mind. It is a habit of energy, which means it can be seen, it can be understood, and it can be released. In the popular imagination, Nibbana is a fluffy cloud paradise, a place you go when you die if you were extra good. But that is not what the word means. Nibbana has a fierce, elemental meaning. It literally means extinguishing, like a flame going out. What gets extinguished? Not you, not life, not joy, not awareness. What gets extinguished is the burning, the fever, the craving, the aversion, and the delusion that keep the mind in a state of constant, vibrating agitation. If your peace depends on having something, a person, a possession, a status, a feeling, then your peace is a hostage. It can be kidnapped at any moment. The moment that thing is threatened, your peace wavers. You are essentially building a skyscraper on a foundation of quicksand. Nibbana is peace that doesn't depend on having anything at all. It is the peace of the empty hand. Not because you have become numb or indifferent, but because the compulsion to grasp has fallen away. The fist has opened. You can still enjoy things. In fact, you enjoy them more because you are not terrified of losing them. You can still love. You love more deeply because you are not using the other person to fill a hole in your soul. You can still engage fully with life. But you are not imprisoned by the need for things to be a certain way. Why does this matter more than anything else? Not because everyday life is worthless, we already established that it's not. But because this is the only thing that cannot be taken from you. Your health can fail. It will fail. Your loved ones can pass away. They will pass away. Your wealth can disappear. Your reputation can be destroyed. Everything conditioned is subject to change. But liberation, once realized, is irreversible. It is not a possession that can be lost. It is a seeing through. It is an awakening from the dream. You cannot unsee the truth once it is fully seen. It is a freedom that does not depend on conditions. The Buddha called Nibbana the highest happiness paramam sukham, not because it feels more intense than a drug high or an orgasm, but because it is the only happiness that doesn't come with a hidden expiration date. It is the only safety. This might sound impossibly distant, something for monks in Himalayan caves, not for ordinary people with smartphones and deadlines. But here is the secret: this freedom is available to anyone who is willing to walk the path. And the path doesn't require you to leave your life. It requires you to transform how you live it. There is a quiet assumption in a lot of spiritual teaching that real transformation requires dramatic renunciation. You must burn your suit, sell your car, leave your family, and move to an ashram. Only then, in the silence of the mountains, can you hope to touch something deeper. The Buddha did not teach this as a universal requirement. He outlined a path, the noble Eightfold path, that is walkable by anyone, anywhere. It is a portable technology, and when you look at what it actually involves, you realize it's not about where you live or what you do for work. It's about how you process reality. It is about how you see, how you think, how you speak, how you act, how you direct your attention. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Look at that list. None of these require a monastery. All of them can be practiced while raising children, while negotiating a contract, while stuck in traffic, while cooking dinner. This isn't just theoretical. The Buddha explicitly acknowledged that lay people living ordinary lives in the churning world could realize the deepest truths. The householder Siddha was declared the foremost male lay disciple in teaching the Dhamma. He was a master of the philosophy. Kujatara, a palace servant, a woman who had to work for a living, is traditionally said to have attained stream entry, the first stage of awakening, while still working in the royal court. King Bimbisara, a man with the weight of a kingdom on his shoulders, realized the Dhamma while carrying out his responsibilities. Liberation within a single lifetime isn't reserved for those who drop out. It is available to anyone who walks the path with sincerity and consistency. It is for the warrior in the marketplace. So how do these 8 factors actually work together in daily life? Think of them not as a checklist you complete in sequence: step 1, step 2, step 3. Think of them as a hologram, as 8 spokes of a wheel. All of them support each other. All of them turn together. Right view and right intention are the compass. They are about how you see the world and what you are aiming for. When you begin to understand the nature of suffering and the possibility of freedom, your intentions naturally start to align with that understanding. The orientation begins to shift from accumulating stuff to releasing burdens, from grasping at control to understanding the flow. This shift doesn't require any external change. It happens in the quiet privacy of the mind. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood are the interface. This is how you actually show up in the world. Not harming, not deceiving, not earning your living in ways that poison your own consciousness or the lives of others. This is where the path touches your everyday life most directly. You can practice this as a parent, choosing patience over anger. As a professional, choosing integrity over easy profit. It doesn't require a special environment. It requires honesty and care. It turns your life into the practice ground. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration are the engine. This is the training of the mind. This is where meditation comes, but perhaps not in the way people often imagine. You don't need to sit for 4 hours in the lotus position until your knees explode. Even 15 minutes of genuine, razor-sharp attention each day can begin to shift the tectonic plates of your mind. The key is consistency, not intensity. You are learning to see what is actually happening in your experience moment by moment. You are watching the arising and passing of sensations, feelings, thoughts. You are learning to be less automatically pushed around by craving and aversion. You are becoming the observer, rather than the victim of your own mind. These factors strengthen each other like a woven rope. Living ethically creates the mental stability, the lack of guilt and paranoia that makes meditation possible. Meditation creates the clarity that allows you to see reality more clearly. Seeing reality more clearly naturally leads to more ethical living, because you see that harming others is harming yourself. It's not a ladder you climb once and then you redone. It's a spiral that deepens over time. You don't need to be perfect to benefit from it. You don't need to be a saint. You don't need to have some dramatic spiritual explosion where the sky opens up. Every step brings benefit, not just at the end, but right now. You don't need to renounce everything. You need to change your relationship to everything. Love without clutching so tightly that you suffocate the beloved. Work without being enslaved by the outcome. Enjoy life while knowing with a deep and peaceful certainty that it is not the whole story. Each moment you notice craving arising, that tightness in the chest, that hunger, and you let it pass instead of acting on it, that is victory. That is practice. Each time you speak with kindness when you could have been harsh, that is the path. Each breath you observe with full attention, anchoring yourself in the now, that is a step toward freedom. You don't need to wait for some future enlightenment to experience less suffering. The path is the goal. Walking is arriving. So we return to the question we started with, the question that rose from the ashes of the burning house: if everything ends, what actually matters? To love what is here without demanding it stay forever. To care for what is in front of you, this person, this task, this breath, without losing yourself when it changes. To walk through this impermanent world with a heart that is learning slowly, patiently to let go. Not letting go of life. We are not nihilists. We are letting go of the struggle against life. We are letting go of the war against the way things are. The Buddha's last words, according to tradition, were not a command from a god. They were an invitation from a friend who had crossed the river. All conditioned things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence. It is a reminder of the fire, and a call to use the time that remains. The path is here. The door is unlocked. The burning house is real, but so is the way out. What you do next, well, is entirely up to you.